Hello, my fellow YouTubers and subscribers. Welcome to my latest review of His Dark Materials, Season 1, Episode 7, Fight to the Death. Okay, so Season 1, Episode 7, Fight to the Death. We are nearing the end of this first season of His Dark Materials, and I can't wait to finally have reviewed the whole entire first season for you. But anyway, let's press on. So the basic plot of this particular episode is as follows. Separated from her friends, Lyra must use all of her methods of deception to thwart a formidable foe. Meanwhile, Mrs. Coulter plots her next move. There we go, that's the plot of the Fight to the Death. So, the Fight to the Death. This is a very good episode. Another strong episode. Most of these episodes, pretty much all of them, are very strong. There isn't really a weak link in this series. If there is any, maybe it's the first episode, but the first episode is still very good at setting things up. As for this 7th episode, this one is really quite something. It is a spectacle to look at, that's for sure. The main event that occurs in this episode is a big bear fight. We get to see Urek fight his nemesis, Jofa Ragnarsson, who is the king of the bears. And we get a pretty brutal fight. I mean, there's a lot of blood and guts and everything. It's not quite as overt as the movie, The Golden Compass, but it's still a very entertaining fight. And I do appreciate the fact that they weren't afraid to show some blood and some wounds with this fight. They made it look real. So on the realism front, it definitely looks good enough to me. And what I love about this is also the fact that Lyra shows how truly good she is at deceiving people. Much like her mother, Mrs. Coulter, she's very good at manipulating people, and she manages to deceive the king of the bears. And that scene that takes place between them is a very interesting scene. And then she has to use the alethiometer to work out who he first killed, because Lyra lies to Ragnarsson and says Urek is her demon, and if Ragnarsson kills Urek in battle, Lyra will become his demon. It's all a load of bullshit, but Lyra quite cleverly manages to do that, and in doing so, actually Urek gets what he wants, because Urek has wanted to become the king of the bears and reclaim his kingdom as Svalbard, which is the kingdom of the bears. And like I said, the fight is really entertaining to watch. And you really do believe the rivalry between these two bears. They really are the worst of enemies. Like I said, Dafne Keen gives a fantastic performance as Lyra. Once again, just brilliant. She really has nailed this character. She really has studied it very well. And you can totally tell that this is how Lyra is meant to be. We actually get quite a dark opening to the episode where Mrs. Coulter is still looking through the wreckage that is Bolvanger. And she comes across the nurse and she actually strangles her because she's so intent on finding Lyra. She's becoming slightly deranged by this point. She's becoming slightly mad. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Like, she nearly kills her. And it's almost like a moment of real descent into darkness. Like, Mrs. Coulter is just so driven by this point. She is so driven to finding her daughter. It's tearing her apart inside. Like, she's becoming psychologically damaged from this, and it's really just eating away at her. And again, Ruth Wilson performs this character so well. She was the perfect choice for this character. This is not an easy character to play. Mrs. Coulter is probably the most difficult role to play in this story. She is just so complicated, as I keep saying, but it's true. I think the CGI for this episode is amazing. It just looks so good. It looks near enough Hollywood standard. Almost as good as the effects for the Golden Compass movie, in which they displayed the bear fight in that film as well. But I think the BBC they've really gone all out with this. They really have gone all out to make it spectacular, and it does look spectacular, and it sounds great too. This could be put on a cinema screen. It's that good. Also, concurrently with this storyline, we also have the return of Will Parry, who's kind of been dotted around in the first season. He's been introduced in, I think, the 5th episode. I like the inclusion of Will. I mean, it does detract a little bit from what's going on with Lyra's story, but it's important to show the beginning of Will's journey, because obviously the two characters, Lyra and Will converge together in Season 2. And this guy, Carlo, from the Magisterium, he is still on his mission with the other guys in the other world, Will's world, we should say. He is still looking for information on John Parry, who is Will's father, who also went on some kind of expedition, similarly to Lord Asriel. And I do think Amir Wilson is good as Will, although I can't really say too much about him because we haven't seen the best of him yet. He will get a lot more to do in Season 2, and I can't wait to talk more about him there, but he's good for the scenes he's in here. I think the actress that plays his mother is also very good, and she's under some kind of medical condition, and she has to take tablets and everything, and she plays that rather well. Johannsson, who voices Jofa Ragnarsson, he's rather good as well as Joe Tandberg as Yurik. The voice actors do a tremendous job in this particular episode. We don't see too much of Lin-Manuel Miranda in this one as Scoresby. His airship, his air balloon has crashed, and he has one scene with Serafina Pekkala, the witch, and he thinks he's failed Lyra because he lost her. Although he does manage to find out that Lyra's still alive, which is good, but don't watch the episode for him. He's not in it that much, which is a shame, but we'll see more of Scoresby in the second season, I think. Llewyn Lloyd as Roger, yeah, he's good too. He's got some great moments there. There is a bit of a corny shot with him and Lyra when they're riding Yurik through the snow, and they do have some cheesy close-ups, and they do have a nice moment before they enter Lord Asriel's den, shall we say. They have a nice friendly hug and embrace, and they say, oh, I'm always here for you, and you're always here for me, etc. It's a nice friendly bonding moment. I like the ending very much as well, when they meet up with Lord Asriel, who escaped from the bear prison, and he is now in his den again, and he's doing his work. And it's interesting to note his reaction when Lyra comes to the front door. When she enters with Roger, he sees her and he's like, I didn't send for you. I did not send for you. You need to turn around and go home now. And then he notices that Roger is there with her, and then his reaction to Roger being there is really creepy. It's like, thank you, Roger Parslow. Draw these to a bath. I'm so happy to see you. It's like, oh God, what the fuck? Lord Asriel is a very dark character, and we will find out more about him in the next episode, which is the last episode, and his true intentions. But yeah, his behaviour towards Roger is certainly very creepy at the end of this one, and it's a good place to end this episode. It's like, oh my God, like, what's he going to do? Like, why is he reacting like that? It definitely leaves the viewer wanting that much more, and that's what this episode is great at doing. It's great at leaving you wanting more. I can't give it a perfect score because I do feel like the pacing of the episode is a bit slow. Like, there are certain scenes which do drag a bit. Some of the scenes are a bit talky. Perhaps some of Will's scenes are a little bit jarring in terms of running concurrently with the Lyra story, considering Will's story hasn't really got going yet, as far as I'm concerned. I don't think Will's story really takes off until the next episode and then into season 2. So perhaps maybe they could have reduced the amount of scenes with Will in this episode. But, you know, it's not a major complaint. And the bear fight is pretty spectacular. I can't deny that. So overall, I'm going to give the fight to the death a 9 out of 10. It's very good. It's very good, but it isn't my favourite episode. It's probably a step up from the last episode, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I will actually do a ranking of the episodes in my next review. I'm going to do, like I do with my Doctor Who reviews, do a mini ranking of the season at the very end of my next review. So, that's it, folks, and that brings me on to my 8th and final review of Season 1 of His Dark Materials, which will be Betrayal, yes. The 8th and final episode of this first season. I can't wait to talk about it. It's going to be great. And then I will go into Season 2, woohoo, which will be a lot of fun to talk about. So anyway, thank you all for watching. What do you think of this episode? Please comment down below. Let me know. Stay tuned for more content. And as always, I'm Mr. TARDIS11. See you soon. Bye for now.